URC, folks, Leinster and Ulster, 41 points to 17. Something of an emphatic victory for the Leinster lads. Much changed lineup, but still looking pretty comfortable atop the URC. Ulster managed to score some points, which is more than the last few sides have been able to do against Leinster. So that is a positive, but no points out of the game and a few guys going off injured is a little bit concerning in terms of their overall URC campaign. We'll go through some of the key events and the stats. You guys can let us know your thoughts on how the game went. Tommy O'Brien was the first one to kind of get wounded in this game. He managed to stay on, and he's a proper live wire. We're really impressed with how he's been going for Leinster in recent weeks. He got a bit of a cut, but he was able to be patched up and stay on the field, which is good because he ends up getting man of the match in this one. But he's the first one to cop a blow. It's not by any means the worst because a lot of guys have to leave the field in this game, as I said, as was the intensity of the game. But he gets the first hit, and Ulster get the first points. A scrum penalty sees them slot 3 points after a bunch of possession and territory. So that's, as I said, a lead against Leinster away from home. Nobody's been doing that recently, so that was at least a positive and probably a pretty good way to start the game. And Leinster weren't quite able to nail those killer blows early. Like they had a really good chance when Henshaw, Jimmy O'Brien and Osborne almost linked up. Final pass not quite finding the man. Danger was there, but Ulster was able to hold them out until the 20th minute when Tommy O'Brien, as I mentioned, who's been looking pretty good, he's able to go around Stockdale, dink over the top and beat Doak to the ball. It's able to score out on the right wing, so good try from him. And, Lowry goes off, injured on a stretcher, so long stoppage. Fingers crossed he's all right, because he looked to be a pretty serious one. But, 5-3 down. Ulster, they lose their fullback. John Cooney has to come on, so it's a bit of a makeshift back line from here on out for Ulster. And then it's not just the backs, their scrum starts to come under a bit of pressure. They did win that early penalty, but Leinster are upping their game in that area, although the line out, to be fair, Leinster struggled in the first half, misfiring a bit, came better in the second half though. And then they start to turn the screws. Clarkson, close range, relentless phases. You've seen Leinster do it a million times. He's able to go over and this one's converted, so 12-3. And Ulster, their kicking game from Murphy's just, he seems frustrated in himself. Just getting these kicks a little bit too deep. It's too easy for Leinster to just kind of mark him and exit back. He did finally get one right, and it paid off immediately. When it wasn't too deep, it was contestable. Doak's able to win the bloody thing. He's not the biggest guy, but he's able to win a contestable kick. They get an inside ball to Izuchukwu, who's a pretty agile guy for a big fella. And, scores a try against Leinster, which, as I said, have been hard to come by. 12 points to 10. Proper game on, but Leinster final say of the first half. It's a penalty try when they got an attacking maul. Close range on 39 minutes. It's collapsed by McCann. They had to TMO it to have a long look at it to see, is it flying wedge, is it a collapsed maul? They go with collapsed maul, so McCann gets the yellow, and it is a penalty try. So Leinster up 19-10 at half-time. Leinster have had more possession, more territory, more run meters, and Ulster have had to make a fair few more tackles. 70 tackles made to 46, so not quite double, but it's a fair chunk more. A little bit worried if Ulster are having to defend like that for long periods, will they get exhausted tackling themselves out? Ulster still had enough ball to make it, make it comfortable enough that they had their chances, especially in the second half. At times they were just going backwards. We'll get to that. Flying start though, Leinster in the second half. I mean, they had to check it for the TMO, but there was it was cleared. Ringrose, he's out on the right wing for a bonus point try. Osborne with a nice kind of wee show and go left and then goes right. Pretty slick play. So now it's starting to look like a long road back for Ulster at 24-10. Ulster were putting a lot of pressure on. Leinster did get a yellow card warning, which ended up being followed through with a yellow card to Mangum when he kind of had a wee beyond the horizontal tackle. But I feel like this is a key period of the game because Ulster don't score. Yellow card to Leinster, you need, and you're bloody down Leinster's end. They absolutely have to score, preferably twice. but they don't even get the ones. They have a load of close range phases, similar to what led to the Clarkson try earlier on in Leinster's half. But Ulster just can't get over, and Leinster win themselves a breakdown penalty. So they exit, and to make matters worse for Ulster, Leinster, who are 14 men, are able to score down the other end. Tommy O'Brien gathers a Frawley dink, and he's got time, seemingly, crazily, to put a little dink through of his own for Sheehan, who's come off the bench, who gets his first of 3 tries. 29-10, that is a psychological blow. The scoreline is starting to blow out. You've just gone down the other end and not been able to score, and then down your own end and conceded. So pretty brutal, but Leinster, man, yeah, some of these guys putting in good performances. Ulster did have a heap of ball, like I mentioned. Like phase after phase at one point, they went back 10, 20, 30 metres. Just getting driven back in the tackle. And it's a weird one, because when you look at Leinster's tackle stats, they never look that fantastic. It's a Nienaber thing. The tackle stats don't always look fantastic, but it's the pressure that they put on the ball carriers, even if it's not always tackles made. It's guys up in your face. So, like, the tackle percentage in the first half for Leinster was 77%, which is not great. You know, below 80 is generally pretty bad, but you wouldn't know it to look at the scoreline and whatnot. So sometimes the stats can be a bit misleading. Ulster lost a line out in their own half in the second half. Sheehan was able to pounce on it, Leinster shifted it right, and then back in field, Prendergast to Sheehan for his second try, 36-10. Now it's starting to become a bit of a rout. Ulster did get a try through McCann to at least get a little bit more respectability on the scoreboard, but as I said, nobody's been scoring tries against Leinster. To get 2 was all right, but it was a bit of a dodgy one because there seemed to be a knock-on in the build-up, but the actual grounding was fine. The grounding that they went to check was fine. But it did seem to be knocked on a phase before the grounding. But anyway, they give it, and in this context of the game, it doesn't matter, 36-17. But once again, Leinster have the last say as Sheehan gets his hat-trick. Prendergast dink wide. They go back inside to Sheehan, who's running around the corner at pace. Jeez, he's electric for a guy in the front row, isn't he? So 41-17, hat-trick try for him. And, yeah, pretty emphatic victory for Leinster. Possession finishes 53-47 and territory 52-48 to Ulster. So they actually had more of the ball. The tackle count is 136 to 109, with Leinster having to make more. So this is what I'm talking about Ulster had chances in terms of just pure number of possessions. The run meters, though, is 382 to 294, so Leinster doing a bit more with a bit less. Clean breaks is 7-5 to Leinster. Leinster's line-out finishes 13 from 17. Remember, they'd missed 4 in the first half. They were 8 from 12 in the first, so the line-out was better in the second half. Ulster's was fine, 11 from 13, mostly pretty solid, barring that one that they lost and got punished. So sometimes the margins are pretty small up against Leinster. Hey, they are a ruthless side. Very efficient. Penalties conceded is pretty low, 7-6, so not as much whistle in the game. I mean, Tommy O'Brien, that guy, as I mentioned, he's a live wire. 4 defenders beaten, 2 clean breaks. Sets up a try, gets one of his own. Man of the match, good on him. Jamie Osborne, 86 metres and 3 defenders beaten, also really sharp. Stockdale had 61 metres and 8 defenders beaten, also sharp. McNabney, 16 tackles for Ulster. Culhane, 16 tackles for Leinster. So some good performances on display, but it's hard to score points against Leinster. 17 is more than most have got, but yeah, conceding 41. It's a pretty emphatic performance by the boys in blue. They're away to the Scarlets next, and Ulster have got a home game against the Sharks, which will be a very interesting one in terms of the context of the URC table. You guys let us know your thoughts on the match. Leinster still seem, because I've been watching a few of their games recently, very hungry, very efficient. They really want some silverware. But anyway, you guys let us know your thoughts, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. Ta-ra.